Nevada, and she's a labor and employment partner at H.I.R.E. And she'll walk us through some of the best practices that every employer, no matter what size of your company, should be practicing. Pam is a national authority and firm go-to on all issues related to fair credit reporting, background screening compliance, use of criminal and credit history information, and electronic signature issues. She's daily training businesses across the country through webinars and other technical forms of training and education, and is a real treat. She's coming from Chicago and sharing her time, and I think it's really important to recognize that. Next, we have DeAndre Brown Sr., who's the Executive Director of Lifeline to Success in Memphis, Tennessee. I do a lot of work with Lifeline, and they're not only a direct service provider to men and women and youth in their community, but doing some amazing work and transformative work on the policy side and running a business and really supporting community development in their own local communities. And last but not least, of course, is Dina Hong, who's with the United Parcel Service, and she's a labor and employment attorney for UPS. We are extremely thrilled to have her here with us today. Dina actually is also a chairperson of UPS's Pro Bono Committee and serves on the executive board of the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation. We're going to turn to DeAndre. And this is going to be a conversation between he and I, and then of course we'll have Q&A after, and I'll turn to Dina after. So DeAndre, you're running a nonprofit business that doesn't get any private foundation support, but serves as a sanitation service that I've seen to Memphis and its blighted communities. You hire, train, and support the professional development and personal development of young people, men and women, who have had contact with police in your community. What has driven you to start this business, and what do you think is the greatest impact your program has had on the Fraser community in Memphis?
Awesome. Hello, I was asked to stand so everyone in the back can see us.
Yeah.
So the Lifeline to Success is an ex-offender reentry program. And I use that term program intentionally. I come at this from a different perspective, so some of my comments they won't be legal, but they will be from the perspective of a direct service provider that deals with this population every day on a daily basis intentionally. We are a program. What that means is we expect the men and women that we come in contact with to be different when they leave. We're not an agency that provides a service. We actually want them to be deprogrammed and then reprogrammed. We do that several ways, one of which is through classroom instruction. Our program is a minimum of 12 weeks. When we started out, we were 12 weeks every day, 9 to 12, 5 days a week, just coming in, and we teach them basic things that most people in this room would probably take for granted. How to shake a hand, how to say hello, how to be on time, how to be respectful, how to respect authority, but most importantly, how to follow instructions. We target a population that most people don't want to deal with. If you're uneducated, we want you. If you cannot read very well, we want you. If you have some mental issues, we want you. Because at the end of the day, the community needs to be safer because they've come in contact with us. And if we don't target them, who will? Most programs that I'm aware of deal with people on a certain grade level of reading. They have to have certain certifications because their outcome is employment. My outcome, our outcome is not employment. It can be a part of the outcome. But the outcome is to make you a productive citizen that makes crime is now no longer attractive to you. After dealing with us, you should not see crime as an option. In our communities, we come from, she mentioned the Fraser community. In Memphis, Tennessee, Fraser's zip code 38127. Google it if you choose to. And when you Google it, you will find that every negative statistic resides in our community. Juvenile crime, infant mortality, aggravated assaults, violent crime, you name it, Fraser was on the top of the list before we came. I'm glad to say that we're no longer at the top of the list. We were a blighted community, as Tony mentioned. Blight, for those that may not know, is when urban sprawl happens and people move out, homes become abandoned, and in the abandoned homes, the grass gets tall and they become havens for crime. One of the reasons we started our program 6 years ago was to give men and women an opportunity to change the perception of what it is to be a person with a felony conviction. Our mission is to change the perception. We've talked a lot about banning the box. And let me say this, Memphis was the first city to ban the box in 2010. We led that effort. Thank God we were successful. We're attempting now to move to Shelby County and the state of Tennessee. Our mission is to change perceptions. And you cannot do that in a vacuum. So we had to take these men and women that had felony convictions and find ways to let the community know, first of all, they had felony convictions. But secondly, they were no longer a threat. So we found a neighborhood that was completely in disarray, and we began to go out, and the second part of our program is volunteering. They have to volunteer. So that means they have to come to a community and go and work for free. The only benefit from working is to build value in themselves. Because once they build value in themselves, they no longer want to break the law because many of them have never had someone to look at them with respect. So now we have a group of people, and we've done it several ways. But one of the most important things that we've done is we've made it so that everyone comes into the program together, meaning we have different gangs, different age groups, different educational levels, different skill sets, all under one banner. This way, you cannot say, well, this group is the exception to the rule. No, we've got them all in one place. And not only are they all in one place, they're working towards a common goal. So that refutes the stigma that they're uneducated, dumb, and they don't want to listen. We refuted that, and we were blessed. You asked about the blight. We've been in operation for 6 years. For the last 4 of those years, we've been contracted with the city of Memphis. We did not want to have employment as part of the program because I did not want the men and women in the program to continue to have that value of money that made them break the law in the first place. So I wanted to remove that out of the conversation, allow them to realize that they were better than they expected and to be of value in them. Well, that worked for a while, but then when they realized they could not eat, we had to find a way to provide for them to eat. And in doing that, the city saw a need to remove blight, and they saw this organization that was out cleaning up with 50 men, cleaning up a neighborhood for free of charge for 2 years. And they said, well, if the rate of return on the investment will be greater for hiring them, let's give them a contract. So we've already banned the box, and after banning the box, they didn't give us this contract to work for the city. And we put on bright green shirts and went out into the community. So then people began to see us. And since people knew we volunteered, we would get phone calls from the granddaughter asking, can you send the group over to my grandma's house? I won't be there, but the back gate will be unlocked. She'll be inside. Now, we've done several things that most people did not notice. We've removed the negative stigma. We've provided a valuable service. And now people are asking those that have felony convictions to come to their neighborhood intentionally. So now, if you ban the box, that's great. But we don't need our box banned because if they've been in Lifeline, they're no longer a threat. What we've attempted to do is be of value in programming. The federal government, and let me back up. I'm a convicted felon. Now, I know we don't want to use those derogatory terms. I use it on purpose because I want shock and awe when I say it. I started off going to college. I was going to be a doctor, went to one of the most prestigious schools in Memphis, Rose College, pre-med. But I decided because they were selling crack next door to my mom, I wanted to sell crack too. It was 1992, and New Jack City was out. So I started trying to sell crack. But I was educated. I was not the street dude. I didn't understand the game. So I got taken advantage of a lot, but I had to learn it. So I understand this work from the perspective of someone that went from the bottom, learned how to become a career criminal, and in learning how to become a career criminal, still have the ability to talk across the aisle to those that were in City Hall. So now what we do is we have this contract, and we have a few more questions. I think since I'm rolling, I just roll on, if you don't mind.
Roll on.
So we've been successful in getting our men and women to the value that they deserve. And we do serve men and women. Ages don't matter. Again, the only criteria for our program, and I think this is unique, is you must have a felony conviction. So if you call and ask for help, if you say you don't have a felony conviction, we tell you right then, well, we can't help you. Strange, but it works. So we have now a group of people, and we've learned some things. And for those of you that may provide services, these are some things that we've learned in our time. The minimum of 12 weeks, when we started, we'd give them 12 weeks, give them a certificate of completion. That certificate of completion in Memphis should have been more valuable than banning a box or a certificate of employment because the people that were employing them knew who they were. We're on TV all the time, and that's on purpose. So when they get the certificate of completion, we sent them away. now realizing that they still didn't have any opportunities. So what we do now is, even though you've graduated, we give you a certificate of completion, but you're still able to attend the program. You're still able to have the assistance that you need. It's frustrating on occasion, though, because when you talk, and I hear a lot about evidence-based, and I have no problem with evidence-based practices, but what is the evidence you want? If you're looking at rate of recidivism, that is skewed. People come to our programs because they want to be different. So if they want to be different, they're more than likely not going to break the law anyway. So if my recidivism rate is 2%, that means nothing. I have the people that don't want to break the law. We look at job placement. That's great. I got my first charge at work. You have to begin to understand that this work is so much more than a metric. You've talked about how when we want to break the stigma, that it takes individualized assessments. That's what it takes. Individualized assessments. It takes dealing with people, and in the dealing with the people in the 1980s, I remember Nancy Reagan saying, just say no. It was taboo to have a drug addiction. But after Nancy Reagan bringing out this Just Say No campaign, and people beginning to understand there was a difference, they were still people, they just had drug addictions. Now companies will allow the person with a drug addiction, if they disclose it, to go to rehab and come back to a job. That didn't happen overnight. It took time. Why is this any different? We have to be intentional about making sure that we make these people, myself included, feel a part of society. We use terms like returning citizen. That's disingenuous because I'm not a citizen. I still can't vote. Wow. So when you say those things, the general population that isn't in this room doesn't understand that while you're saying these things, I'm still being discriminated against. So why do I even want to attempt to be different? I'll get back. I apologize. Yes. But our relationship with the city has afforded us an opportunity to have our men and women gainfully employed for as long as they need to be. What we need help now is finding partnerships with the business community that have removed the boxes and that see value in the men and women that we serve. Another one of our shortcomings, though, is that since we are not foundationally funded, everything that we get, we have to work for. So if there is no work, if there is no grass, then we don't make any money. We want to add parts to what we do so our men and women have skills, hard skills. I think another one of Tony's questions is what has that meant for our community? Well, one of the things that we see as ourselves as, again, being a group that promotes public safety. We've had negative interaction with the police departments. Well, now we're partners with the police department. I myself am a graduate of the Memphis Police Department's Clergy Academy. So when we have functions in our community, the police department comes to our building and they have events. Now that may not seem like a big deal, but that begins to make people that were not interested in re-engaging in the community or being reintroduced or introduced to the job market see hope. And again, I want to first of all say thank you for all of you that are here today, because the fact that you've seen value in people like myself, I appreciate it. Don't think when you go home that people don't value the work that you do behind closed doors. And to the employers in the room, I challenge you to come up with ways that makes our nation better, because we see all people as equal. That's not continue to have a class of people that is being systematically discriminated against because of things that were put in place by people that are not in this room, that had intentions that we don't have today. Let's allow this nation to represent what we want it to represent, which is fair, equality, fairness, equality. I think that with the fact that you're here today means that you're in that same category. Wow. It's been a long time coming. I never would have imagined when I was in my cell that I'd be in front of you today. And the reason I'm sharing these things with you is because you must understand that when you see the box and your life depends on that one question, you can't imagine how it feels to have mouths to feed at home. And when you look at the application, you know that if you check that box, you can't feed your family, but you do not want to break the law anymore. So I challenge you today in this room to begin to find ways to make that man or woman feel whole. We have the power, you have the power, and I pray that you will use your power wisely and that when we come back in a few years, we'll be able to sing praises to the maximum impact we've had on our nation in helping the administration to see the need, to ban the box, give certificates of employability, and to make all Americans equal. Thank you.
Do I have it on? No, I don't. And I realized my mic was muted. I have issues. Thank you, DeAndre. I hope you understand why I thought it was fitting for him to be on this panel to kind of bridge and show, you know, where Pam was talking about, you know, the use of individualized assessments and the need for it. I think DeAndre brought it back home on how many people, even in his community, and we think nationwide, are really putting in the effort to change their lives, change their behaviors, and do everything, you know, that we as a society would expect. But if they aren't given the opportunity to be the change, what's going to happen? So I thank you. I think it was definitely a great bridge.